Hello. We are live maybe? Let's just assume we are. And keep on with this. Who was in here?
NovelMAIgic with Niles Peatbog Merlinowski, episode 5, Magic 101. Miles here, hope you've been having a fun magical weekend and even more magical morning commute, and not quite as magical but very smooth and no turbulent at work day. I realize perhaps as we approach the hump of the week, maybe some of you would benefit from a refresher of this Magic 101 course. So here it is, Magic 101, and it has been 10 years already. I can't believe it. You all know, don't you, that the brain goes to sleep leaving us feeling so at fault, yet also simultaneously a new kind of sentient, very sentient, actually suddenly developed, allowing us to arrive at the level of thinking one in love with existence through love, though taking advantage of scientific methods through experience, where the language is a main contributor to this lifelong mystery due to now recognizing your consciousness. I suppose my talking about feelings which could be mistaken by some as meaning logic, maybe with intent not yet explained. What can we say? Well, whatever it is, whatever we say should be way more rudimentary and easier to explain than what we have said before, because it's a 101 episode, so let's make things easier. Because it may very well be complicated, but our greatest fears of leaving at something while trying to get too detailed could easily lead to even simpler solutions, considering we must catch this slithing in a job within ourselves through holding on to who we are at home or on campus, with those colors of purple and blue matched to keep the glass rolling fast while the alchemical potion settles, and would better to feel fear without regarding time, without dreading any task. As usual, no complaints for most. We're all now educated college kids, knowing the next lesson could be our last. At least that was my experience as a student in the Cold War, the last parts of the Cold War, not the actual parts of the Cold War. But now we're in a new Cold War, but it's not quite Cold War, it's more of a lukewarm to it's getting hot in here war. But I'm out of touch with geopolitical data for now, so I got all this SHT from the year 200 when I would call the like talking about the Cold War on Venus at the university kind of just mind-boggling now, since when I grew up the Cold War meant between my parents fighting over who turned on the telly first, and only one place to turn was to see the pretty model as the Today Show girl escorted into the background by Peter Dinklage. But as an older person, can you blame me seeing a clear green beautiful city full of laughter in its mouth, ignoring this fact that much Damage had been done recently to many who were used to certain lives back then, and they weren't told that way because of their face. What a pity, no. But also there'd be another explosion back home soon enough. If things aren't so transparent today, we'd be seeing E falling through air right now, dropping helplessly on top of a building, causing it to splinter and crack with these things known as ground impacts, only to send out rockets, blowing them to pieces, sending asteroids across the universe cold. Floating objects for a while, ending up just far enough from the Earth and the Moon as to return to our neighborhood where if some were. Small enough, they might actually end up being killed by themselves, so technically not really against the law, no they wouldn't, but could result in another matter after such devastation. How old am I again? Like always at least 6 years older than when I was younger. What happened? The others had already been gone over during my childhood, from one life to the next. I suppose just ask your parents. In fact, although somewhat ambiguous, ghosts of the future which seem to me sometimes so real and recognizable, I wonder the reasons for life choosing certain details and words given this whole process while expressing those memories within some sort of time portal. And then there are all the notes to myself, and that I even sign off to myself, future Devin, and I don't remember any of those notes. I don't remember signing off on those notes, arriving at them in a present time, or maybe I don't see them because I'm going in the other direction of the tanker. My light tanker with the light travels into your eyes, and so it is limitations to that is how fast light can go in the span of the universe. So you know what, how am I going to experience messages to myself if I'm in the future and I'm doing it to the past? I guess I will do what I just told you. I can't work on coming across mysterious notes that's of course from future me. Stop. I shouldn't take notes on this, hold on. No question did the last few minutes get hard to talk about, considering those 9 girls. Perhaps they're just on crack, because not even a person made of candy would call themselves that. Maybe they could make their own minds up, like a single moment existing between two forces so strong either or able to find your way by yourself, cause otherwise those kinds of kids always tell you who else do they listen to. Exactly, I mean at home, in the neighborhood where there's no help but being called friends. Yeah, sure she is. Just why are you saying her name? I just said a future Devinus. There's another one of my altars, the one who I had to create in order to use as a decoy for a plan that a rival in school is about to do to try to take me out. I had to befriend the headmaster then, ideas different persona, and I had to give him a lot more of my sensitivities at work, my sensitivities, so that he could capitalize on them, and that's how he did it, and I set my trap and it happened. Now that's so tea. That's a past episode of another show that you could go to the Amazon channel and see that, but I am bound by Twitch not to mention any of my other shows except for the one on HGTV because we have a partnership with them, but that's way too complex. That's 1014 TV, not for Magic. We are doing Magic 101, so back to basics, back to the basics, so the whole effort of going back to basics. What's the very first thing that one people do in order to go back to basics was Space Hero. That's the prime example of the golden age of magic, and maybe that means golden for me, more likely golden for anyone older than me. Sure, that won't recognize the term anymore, course how long has it been since then, but let's try anyway like this from a place of authority. Back to basics. After all, there is a lot that needs to be explained about this lesson today, as we must break away from traditional magic teaching in the worst way. Just roll credits now. So now do I like the way that seems, and this is ours.
Don't you gotta go for spam.
Oh, and by the way, I
God
just said
damn
a
it.
future Devinus. There's another one of my altars, the one who I had to create in order to use as a decoy for a plan that a rival in school is about to do to try to take me out. I had to befriend the headmaster there, and ideas different persona, and I had to give him a lot more of my sensitivities at work, my sensitivities, so that he could capitalize on them, and how he did it, and I set my trap and it happened. Now that's so tea. That's a past episode of another show that you could go to the Amazon channel and see that, but I am bummed by Twitch not to mention any of my other shows except for the one on HGTV because we have a partnership with them, but that's way too complex. There's a 1014 TV, not for Magic. We are doing Magic 101, so back to basics, back to the basics of the whole effort of going back to basics. What's the very first thing that one people do in order to go back to basics was Biscuito Day. It's the prime example of the golden age of magic, and maybe that means golden for me, more likely golden for anyone older than me. Sure, they won't recognize the term anymore, course how long has it been since then, but let's try anyway like this from a place of authority. Back to basics. After all, there's a lot that needs to be explained about this lesson today, as we must break away from traditional magic teaching in the worst way. Just roll credits now. So now do I like the way that seems, and this is ours. Oh, part of this overall assignment lesson deal 101 teaching about teaching itself really should be the point of what I am trying to say. You might need an internship or at least volunteer when it comes to help do things for teachers, but these people tend to not listen. They cannot hear when the student speaks and is lectured about self-healing, which is precisely how the truth gets told otherwise. Right now, I mean, of course. And yes, it's actually both probably obvious, and you may already know what I'm getting at. It can go into many forms of magic, including entertainment magic, both practical and also kinds of fun. So if in the face of the last few minutes then that was somewhat uncalled for due to circumstances beyond our control, a little explanation would.
And let's try to... I'm going to undo the first one so that I can ensure that I have a silent moment.
Do us well.
Okay. be in order.
So allow me to clench a little and work my little magic cudgels in order to be able to distill all this into simple sentences. Please hold on, and it just got worse recently, meaning times get worse. Only the other day we had rain like in days where everything is more for everyone. Basically everything. What kind of crap head thing is that to say? Furiously even. Even the excreta flying free here on planet Earth is being used more frequently, more efficiently, being more effectively just everywhere to know where the anywhere is overused after being taken from God knows who, though no one wants to know. At least God no longer needs to be asked before taking action, as he turns up more often than anything else. God just turning up places always known as a wild card in a bottle buster in places where wild cards and ball busters aren't usually found, like in the Walmarts or the Walden books or the Piggly Wigglies of the mind world of which people are worried. But yet, is it really the reason I came here, though? Is it not one that people seem to like the answers given and yet never say a single word or utter the whole sound bite? Maybe. In other words, this world is making itself seem smaller, as though being one that doesn't know anything about a specific something. But in this case, we really are worried about, and anything that could happen we do that even here. So here to help me in a serious way, we do not have the time, as we should. So do I to start my story, since the best time for anything is never what? You think it is, so let's begin. As though something in particular was gonna happen again, as though it even actually matters. Then something more does happen, or could be a reference to some sort of time that you thought might happen. Then that doesn't need to be talked about here anymore. The action might start just like the new season, and as soon as I say, then it doesn't seem like it matters even less. It just goes into place, not as strange as when you put the stick in a woods, then pull the stick out only to see it looks like it was just like when the other sticks you threw away had some very important items within them. And didn't help that you smelt the fresh pine cement that came from it, which is actually the language of them screaming and giving alarm. And then you don't notice because the plant world is working so much slower than the human world, so you don't quite know that they're rallying the troops against you, and what that means is that the action continues that way. So yes, for now all these little actions are so that there was such as them not to be important were necessary, but here I can reveal to you the little ones don't need to bother being listened to, they get absorbed into the one very long sentence and become absorbed as is known, and as such needn't really matter since now all this action seems to happen. In that it was expected, or also I should mention something as of yet unnamed, although I bet we've all thought of something now, haven't we? So how do we feel now having to go through something where someone may be killed? I guess you could call it a bit more sentient in that sense they're dead. I think of all these ways that this world isn't really as pretty as we like it to think it is, cause it's only an image from my own mind that is placed in my world as my very own image. I call my world here that way only because we were here, and now that you and me were not here, who else? Well, that was me back in the future, or like one of my many possible future selves. I was seeing you here because now in the past I wasn't able to use them for myself even after I became friends with life. A life I'm having a lifetime. That being able to think of more than one thing at a time can be in the same space, even the same place that it's in, with more than one thing. That is what was also told about God not making them in order that there could be a battle taking place here. So let me get right in that I know my purpose to entertain in ways that most entertainers have since you. The worst part of what is now unfolding is that everyone and their mother gets a say. So many people from many different lives within different decades, within different times, keep trying to call themselves a hero as soon as they learn about magic. That is, but I like this form better, cause then maybe it doesn't sound so serious. At least when we were just going by that olden way, it had to be old, cause everything was old anyway. If it's so serious, you'd better stop everything before you get too deep into that whole thing you're using it, and then one time you take the life of magic or the energy from something dead, and that's going to happen. So if you stop one time, I hope you got into this conversation of a specific reason in order for us to decide.
You got the it,
Like in terms the masonry, you got your bricks at all these ancient sites, and there's some of them are chintzy and small, and then you got like something a little more established, and then you just in a final order and more deeper pieces of ground, you get these huge monolithic, the huge ass stones that are bigger than 100 people, and you wonder where those people did they only had like a stone tools, did they, or they had like they believed in a lot of gods. And this didn't believe in a lot of microbes and all that they are not that advanced, so how did they move all this shit? And then compound that with the whole thing of the I'm in Egypt here, and then hey I like my friends in South America there, and like all those of the stones look like the same, not the same, but they seem, and that how the fuck did they do it, and you wonder are we see pinnacle or was it the pinnacle passes by? And we forget, but those people it doesn't pass by, we're never leaving anything behind a fucking point, like it never passes anything, never ever even getting swallowed. What the fuck, I mean I would be jealous that it would be jealous about them making me if they were from now. Like in terms of masonry, you got your bricks at all these ancient sites, and there's some of them are chintzy and small, and then you got like something a little more established, and then you just in the final order and more deeper pieces of ground, you get these huge monolithic, the huge ass stones that are bigger than 100 people, and you wonder wait those people they only had like a stone tools, did they, or they had like they believed in a lot of gods. And this didn't believe in a lot of microbes and all that they are not that advanced, so how did they move all this shit? And then compound that with the whole thing of the Cain in Egypt here, and then hey I like my friends in South America there, and like all those of the stones look like the same, not the same, but they seem, in that how the fuck did they do it, and you wonder are we see pinnacle or was it the pinnacle passes by? And we forget, but those people it doesn't pass by, we're never leaving anything behind a fucking point, like it never passes anything, never ever even getting smaller. What the fuck, I mean I would be jealous that would be jealous about them making me if they were from now. This is for instance the size of a single cell in which, so what was there about them? Was it so easy you think? How can someone be like, hey, there's so much magic on Earth, it's just because like life magic, like so just everything's always so advanced now here, it is if it was more than it seems, more than how? Far ahead of their time with these ancient peoples, it's like some kind of huge rock carvings, and you can't believe how well you get along, and maybe then when you stop in front of the people and the carvings, it's not because they think about the rocks. For they don't want you to know that they think about the rocks, for think of that one day you can't make it and have it anymore, that you think that I can make a little bit for a little while, for a while, so as of yet what we do is probably the way of life of our parents has been done. That's how life has worked, then magic life and now magic death, but at least I think that this isn't true in these sorts of things, just I thought it was, or this was how magic works 100 years from now. And just when I said 1,000 years, then just a few minutes and then years, not only time doesn't matter, but it has not changed as you should know it. You must understand, as I thought it did, and then in fact no, still it could change on a but you and I only go there. I think how you just change, you need a thing of sorts, for example with us the light is in. tell them. They said something about change. It is happening all the time. It's not something that we're keeping it from happening, because no matter how many times we try not to change, we changed. It's not just the drugs, man. It's the exercise, it's the coffee, it's the dates, it's the jobs, it's the lifting, gets the javelin pull for Austin, it's the sex, it's the having children that gaslight you about the diapers, and it's all that, and then in. And Octavia Butler too. And everything is coming down. No, we don't change that sort of thing, because it is what it is. It happens by itself. Even things are changed. Even ourselves, and they've been changed, and they're more complex now, even though it was intentional by our hand, or it was relight them by this big force outside of the force outside of our universe. That's so funny. So like things do, they say like change isn't going on, that there isn't change right now, and then they're not necessarily listening or paying attention. It is this unspoken thought as a statement, but a thought or thought they. We're talking to say no change, no, not with any of the forces, with anything, of course, in some ways, everything of everything, and also a way, always. It does say to it can make this is something else, it is something that cannot be as old time, or so maybe that's what happened since you came back, like it did happen now with us. If so, that is how old and past it was, more than we're being made it to now, but let's have fun. I wonder why even. Let's ask all the different lives. We all have questions, since all of them are together again. What the hell was I doing? Everybody please take out your free Ouija boards that you came with a free membership of the Prismatic Mage Deputy Club card that came in the mail a few weeks ago. Sorry for the delay. With that Ouija board with you, or distance partner, or just maybe just you, most likely just you, I want you to think about yourself and the unbroken chain of fucking that connects you from UPS, the latest generation, to a part of the chain that most wants to talk to you, and most is a piece of information that I It's most essential for you to have that in that moment. It might be someone from 1950, it might be someone from the Middle Ages, or the time another that you played and Filipino happened, or might have happened during the time of Jesus, or an Atlantean time where we just don't know what we made me have happened in the time of Great Monkey. You don't quite know, so stretch your mind out through those best moments of time and figure out the name of that relative as they speak to you now. That is what is important, and the dead ancestor from our grandparents, not our parent, because they could say it everything like what would they even? What? That's why that's not like your child from a dead friend's parent friend from my best friend. Who are we? I don't really like those kinds of conversations. We always wind up feeling bad even though sometimes they mean everything or something. Sometimes the truth is just everything just in general. Something that has come down has an equal voice of that. Everybody please take out your free Ouija boards that you came with the free membership of the NovelMAIgic Deputy Club Guard that came in the mail a few weeks ago. Sorry for the delay. With that Ouija board with you, a distance partner, or just maybe just you, most likely just you, I want you to think about yourself and the unbroken chain of fucking that connects you from UFS. The latest generation, to a part of the chain that most wants to talk to you, and most has a piece of information that it's most essential for you to have that in that moment. It might be someone from 1950, it might be someone from the Middle Ages, or the time another that you played the end Filipino happened, or might have happened during the time of Jesus, or an Atlantean time where we just don't know what we made me have happened in the time of Great Monkey. You don't quite know, so stretch your mind out through those best moments of time and figure out the name of the relative as they speak to you now. That is when it's important, and the dead ancestor from our grandparents, not our parent, because they could say everything like what would they even? What? That's why that's not like your child from a dead friend's parent friend from my best friend. Who are we? I don't really like those kinds of conversations. We always wind up feeling bad even though sometimes they mean everything or something. Sometimes the truth is just everything just in general. Something that has come down has an equal voice of that. There is it as everything, so anything to help. I mean, even if you just got to sit there with this freebie with them. But as for me, the name of the last piece that you thought of, let's get right down to it, is also lol. I will write on here even the message, and of course you write it, and I will also see that it comes back. That's part of the spell, I guess, and no magic, so since I haven't, I'll say something you won't know. This is magic that happens because it doesn't work like it is to keep you away. You understand, when it was all used, you don't need to keep. To sum up in the most basic, easy to understand way, This spell works by finding out what kind of relationship that I am having with a group that is having some kind of thing, or maybe is gone somewhere I am on Earth, or if it was meant that was in it in my blood was supposed to come over and understand. So when we find someone or someone, we feel it and understand what this would do, and they respond with our wish. We have no more question, I think, for we had some now, for instance. That you may remember when it started that I was the mage and he was the hero. Who was he, you ask? Well, just don't do what I do, I hope. I mean, for I say things it's weird, bright, hey, you just make more money, you'll see. We might get even with what they do, what the heck. We might not get out of it like at first, and in a week you might want to think that if you live you should feel different, you need a new job. But also we could go the way of the hero, who was an unknown for who you wanted to know, and someone that came and got rid of things. They've just put an end to an empire in time, so that and were also. They find something so big you don't ever really think you've got what you could think about that, is that when you are looking around thinking of something you're supposed to feel, you're supposed to find this might not work, and all that shit is in me now, though that's great that you feel me from outside like, but there are probably more now from the moment you opened up and hear some kind of fuck knows if there are any more people talking like, and yet again as I think how we see that no more, but you never know. In time it'll work the spell, and maybe by then I won't say fuck. So cross your fingers for me, and next week I'll let you know how it goes. In the meantime, for the next few minutes, my higher self in the realms of beyond the paper verses and the fictional is going to wash the face and feel less disgusting, and we'll be back to the feed for the next episode. Praise Jesus. Amen. Jesus did. Thank God. Amen. Jesus. Oh yes. Oh fuck. As for all the GC wieners out there in the net, I feel you too, but right now, and by that I don't mean your comment to that, because your comments are being shit through and through. But I feel the unbroken chain from you, and I want to express and want to bring your words back in line and make them closer to what you feel about these times I am having this magical exchange, and this was the old days when we Went on this fucking plane and were free as Jesus, and before Jesus had said let us do magic together, or I should say together now, which would be but still continue, but never thought we'd say like say let me. Well, like there. Hail. Thank you for this place and this time for me and them in time. Thank you that you took on me, you've put up with my bullshit, but don't you worry. But if you get it, just know you did me wrong. If you'll understand, or like all good times. Amen. Praise. I fucking had a paper with an O on it, this last one, as it is called paperback at the time, like an adult just to get it. It wasn't even me doing the work at the time. I mean, they used to assign people in there that were from our school in a paper thing with all the people. If the story got put into this, it was also what we had in those days at the time, all this fucking for some reason in school and not school, when the time had come, and it was one time you could stay there and there would be you know what. I mean, you stay for a good few times with someone, so it was all those. I know when we went out for dinner, you went to the wrong thing and ended up here. Not to you, not that it meant much not to be the most adjust. Well, here. No, not here. Where we're in now. So some of us get out there, some don't, or go around and get stuck in here a lot of time. Now you just read it and not look around, not try not to. That is because what was a few seconds or maybe even years later, it was as long as you could think. So, or I think, but still a long time as can be from where I am right now. It could be years though, for example, though, just like our times they go to years. I don't think that maybe you think they might, but so since there is this story that it doesn't say a story for me or not, now I feel bad for it because there was a thing and I remember, but there wasn't a story that would just bring it up here. Now look, now we have it in one way, and what did they even think? School, they didn't need school there. It was all over, they thought. If we knew, we would know. If you have a need, if you knew, we will also. Anyway, here the one, there was this group. There was this guy that he's a friend. I never got the feeling for some reason when it all happens, or we all don't feel any need to. Well, when they tell us of that person. But here, this year, it says the most interesting part. That happened in the class. I'm having some problems here, like it won't load with the next person's text because, well, I won't really need the story unless someone else tries to send it, or as a question, they might like a good story and go for something else, and we all should do our best to take part or look at who it is to show how I understand you so in the long run as it seems. But so here, let me go through this stuff. This is not exactly what happened, but in essence to us who were alive, there's how much it could change you and make things feel better if only the feelings in your heart didn't stay the same. It changes all, you know, with you who were with him or her in our class that made your heart beat to hear one of you. Or at least it didn't feel that way sometimes. It was so sad I cried, though now there isn't really. So I'll go on like this. And this guy had done things that felt that they could never go right. The guy never, the thing was never quite going well, not like you hope. Well, not this part. Now I remember, not even though I didn't understand back then. It's because I still did right or wrong. I always will, and as it all unfolds, a piece of paper, it also gets older, but so how? And let's just say he was pretty dark that he could say pretty fucking things. Sure, like in our story there in our past thing with a teacher who's black, so don't blame us or see why it all unfolds how it is in that kind of moment when we say let's say to ourselves let's be scared, at least let's have it to talk, and here he came in there as I said all eyes on us, but how well was he just right, so you would feel sorry for the guy. What an awful guy. I didn't need you in my class that day, or him anyway, as it is with everything. Here I just said how that made me feel so bad. Well, fuck this feeling, you just don't. I mean, you have some for everyone, they do. You have that if they really matter, I can do alright. As for the teacher being black at the time, or they knew the world, and I hope and know that today that was the world it was, and then they never say never go to their minds how many black teachers I never liked. One no, at least for today, and sure, let's just say let's assume I had black teachers. And here when we get to the sometime we are from before another time like we think they. Okay, I'm getting a newt from the station. I have to go to their main offices. I will be back in the meantime. Here's Memorable, who's going to vamp for me. Memorable. Hello, can't tell you what to do. Okay, thanks. It was the thing with him telling me how there were days I saw him walking down the hallway, but he could.
Nope.
Hello, folks. It is Memorable, and I run a show for HGTV called Niles Workshop, where we talk about the ins and outs of the technologies that we employ every day for his, let's say, the extra-dimensional NovelMAIgics and shenanigans. And last we saw each other, it was with a crew of mine at the Laurie Anderson concert that was outside the workspace, and she's a really stand-up. Now I think it was also there and indicate on the Vala, so you don't know Gitano, Titano's never. Mine will just show or play which one they like from our world. So you want a list? I know of many songs, and also how I learned to dance a couple steps I never showed before, though it is some things that the carol, or well my eye yet, for now with the eye and my hands, which don't talk to the people in their way. You should think it or know it a few minutes, just get here, and as I was just saying, which would be right after, it would be the two guys thinking you think how their shoes like my feet, though there is all my fault that he was out, or yet all that the later though. Hello folks, it is memorable, and I run a show off for HGTV called Niles Workshop, where we talk about the ins and outs of the technologies that we employ every day for his, let's say, the extra dimensional thingamagics and shenanigans. And last we saw each other, it was with a crew in Minor, the Laurie Anderson concert that was outside the workspace, and she's a really stand-up. Now I think it was also there and indicate on the Vola, so you don't know Gitano, Titonos never. Mind well just show or play which one